Hi everybody, welcome. This is Mrs. Mozingo here to talk to you a little bit about the concept of assemblage. Now, assemblage, pretty fancy word, huh? It was made pretty famous by a really lovely lady. There's your French for the day, assemblage, by Louise Nevelson. Now, Louise Nevelson, I'm going to tell you what, love this lady because she was one of the original recyclers. Her dad actually owned kind of a secondhand thrift junk store, and a lot of her work has to deal with all kinds of everyday objects put together, monochromatic, painted in one color. Now, I started to think, how could I do this with some of my students? She typically worked in all blacks, not really uplifting for the younger folks. Everything all in white, minimalist, get it, love it. She also did some in gold. Now, originally from Russia, she immigrated to the US, lived on the East Coast. Now, I decided that we'd use kind of a combination of both monochromatic with the background, the gold, but then we're gonna add some color on the top with oil pastel. Now, first thing that kids do, and again, oil pastels, you gotta love them, right? Now we take off these little jackets, right? They like to party at night, so I like to take off these little jackets if need be, right? I'm totally okay with them peeling off the wrapper to kind of bring them to life. But first thing that kiddos do, not on the gold side, but on the regular cardboard side, they're gonna put their name, they're gonna put their class code. Okay, on this side, this is where they're just gonna hang on to a little bit. This is where kiddos at this age also start to learn about composition. Composition means how things are organized within a work of art. So we don't glue things down right away, right? Because we want to see how things might interact with one another. So I have a variety of different mixed media materials. I've got like these little mini popsicle sticks. I bought these little itty bitty round wooden circles essentially. So we're using oil pastels and we're just going to kind of go for it. Now, oil pastels, they're oily. That's what helps the colors blend together. So I encourage kids to start to choose, 5 to 7 different shapes. We start to play with blending. This is where kids usually go, oh my gosh, please do a video of 5 hours of blending oil pastels. I'm tempted. Most days I'm tempted. Okay, but here it is. I'm gonna go ahead and start to mix up some of these colors. Now, I feel like sometimes I create color combinations like the rainbow threw up on them. Sometimes I'm really inspired by nature. So I'm kind of thinking about northern lights when I'm doing this one. And kids like to overlap. Oh, and we also talk about adding white to make it light. So if I add a little bit of white with some of these colors and start to blend them together, it's a beautiful combination. Okay, so, oh my gosh. Okay, and honestly, this is where kids, almost the entire class period, they come up and they start to see the different color combinations. Here's a student example, and I just love it because this kid really was paying attention to how colors work together. And I love, and ultimately the composition, how things are put together. Same thing. This is a student, she's probably about 6. Okay, and she started to organize these shapes and the colors, all kid work. So when you have started to finish coloring some of these shapes, here's the next step. Students are gonna start to overlap. And this is where I do this in person, and I try to get them to think about, how do you want the different parts to interact? So if I had them like this, okay, what would that feel like? And then this is generally where kids say, oh, that looks like a face, Ms. Mozingo. Okay, yep, get it. Not trying to make a face. But we're trying to focus a little bit more on, oh, now that's kind of interesting, the contrast, the light versus dark. Now, when kids start to color some of these others, or if they want to overlap some of these or glue them down, some kids have started to make some that are a little bit more three-dimensional, that they're kind of lifted up a little bit. That's great too. Okay, but really a big part of this is for kids to figure out what's the composition. And you can always tell their kinds of thinking, right? You can tell if they're a very organized kind of a thinker, right? Okay, or if it's very symmetrical, you can definitely tell that kind of leads to their thinking and who they are. They want their work to be really organized, okay? And that's just their aesthetic, and that's great, and we leave them be. Some kids want to overlap a lot of these shapes. That's okay too. Part of this is sensory, part of it is fine motor, it's the blending, but it's the concept of assemblage, okay? Taking everyday objects and putting them together in this work, that's the main idea. So have fun as you create. Okay, love you, bye.